Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday live stream. So today, the thumbnail and title suggests, it looks like Facebook, or what is now called Meta, is not going to go along with the plan of Bitcoin. I think it's important to kind of understand where people are coming from and when these businesses are happening, and of course, why they actually said no to it as we move forward. So this is some people will say, well, this is a big deal. Well, wasn't that big a deal for Microsoft or Amazon, but here's what we have. So today, looks like Meta shareholders reject the Bitcoin Treasury bid in a landslide vote. And I think when you take a look at the vote and how many people voted, you'll understand that this was universally rejected by the shareholders. I think it's important to note that because I was just at the Bitcoin conference and there was just nothing but bullishness. And it was just going to, tomorrow maybe Bitcoin to 1 million. Who knows? But I think it really comes down to just how much adoption is coming and how many people really understand what Bitcoin is and how it's going. I think it's going to be a little bit of a lag, and this is what it is. So fewer than 0.1% of the votes were cast in favor of this initiative to put Bitcoin on the treasury of Meta, what was called Facebook. The initiative to use part of the $72 billion Meta holds in cash fell way, way short of passage. Here's what we have. So this resolution was submitted by Ethan Peck. He's the National Center for Public Policy Research. He asked Meta to provide a counterweight against lower bond effectiveness by converting an unspecified portion of surplus cash into Bitcoin. And they have a ton of cash. They should probably do this a little bit if they just are sitting on, again, a melting ice cube. Me personally, I don't know about you, but when I take a look at my bank account, what is this money doing for me here in my bank account? It has to go to work for me in some way, shape, or form. That's why I roll it into the different parts of the businesses or real estate or more likely Bitcoin. And again, when I take a look at this, I'm thinking to myself, they could have done this, but universally it was rejected. Peck framed the asset as an inflation hedge, which is true, noting its price increase in 2024 compared with only modest bond returns as comparables. Now, this was an attempt was made recently by Microsoft and Amazon, and everybody was hopeful. And of course, you could get that hopium in your blood, and you think, well, this is definitely going to happen. And they shut it down with pretty much equal resolution. It wasn't like there was much of a leeway between people who wanted it and didn't. It was also universally accepted by these major corporations. And those were actually failed. This highlights the hurdles Bitcoin advocates face when targeting large cap firms with conventional treasury frameworks. And it's pretty tough to get your mind around it. I think unless you really understand it, you're not going to invest into it. That's pretty much where it comes from. But as a reminder, you're going to hear this story repeated. There are some good things out there. If you take a look at bitcointreasuries.com, you can see that not just the ETFs, the countries, but you click on public companies, I mean, you can see just how many there are and how many are adopting it and how actually those stocks are doing. Especially something like Metaplanet and MicroStrategy and Marathon. So when we take a look at these things, it is inevitable. But again, it's going to take time. Anyhow, let me just think about that in the comment section. This is just a story that'll be developing. I think at some point, just like what Michael Saylor talked about as when he was, as he still is, head of MicroStrategy, even he in 2013 rejected the thought of Bitcoin. But here we are. So there's that news. And then also, this was an interesting one. This was Mayor Adams from New York. And this was talked about pretty frequently after he made this announcement at the Bitcoin conference. He said, hey, we're going to do Bitcoin-backed loans, or bonds, I should say, and it's going to be huge. And the New York City comptroller said, no, we're not. That's pretty much what's not going to happen. Now, again, the New York City comptroller, I mean, he has to reject this, and there's a reason why, I think. But it's just not just up to one person. There will be a lot of back and forth. But so far, it's already off to a rocky road. Here's what it is. In a May 29th statement, Lander, who is the New York City comptroller, Brad Lander, states he would not allow New York City to issue the cryptofied debt instrument while he is in office. That's a weird word. He states cryptocurrencies are not sufficiently stable to finance our city's infrastructure, affordable housing, or schools. I have to tell you, there is a lot of retirement funds that would disagree with him. And there are actually states that will disagree with him as well, as finally Texas actually passes their Bitcoin strategic reserve as they move forward. Now, bond's a little bit different, but this is what he says. So he states, adding that the proposal exposed the city to new risks and to erode bond buyers' trust. And I thought about this and I go, with all the the positivity, and we just took a look, obviously, at what Meta is going to do. I thought to myself, was there any other reason why he would shoot this down? And as usual, there's always a story behind the story. According to Bloomberg, Lander is also a potential contender to succeed Mayor Adams in November's mayoral New York election, as he is going to be running as a Democrat, while Adams is seeking re-election as an independent. So again, Bitcoin becomes a little bit of a North Star for different politics that are out there, and we'll see who actually wins. And I will tell you, if Bitcoin does well in the next election, either be this one, or if we're of course talking about Congress, or maybe in another 4 years when we are electing a president, I think it'll be a big factor as to who actually gets in office and or stays in office. So we have that little bit of negative news. And then, this is another good one, Trump. So I like to bring in a little macro about what's happening, because since the conference, we've seen a little bit of a slump in Bitcoin. Now, we took a look at the last 4 years as far as a Bitcoin conference, and there are some downward slides on some, not all of them. And I took a look at, it was a 24, or actually during 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days, and 6 months after. And it's just a kind of like a big smorgasbord of different price action. But 6 months after every single Bitcoin convention, you were doing pretty good if you bought. So this is one of those negativity stories that's going to probably reach far and wide. Trump announces a 50% steel tariffs and hails a blockbuster deal with Japan. We can't get away from it. I mean, we are a part of the macro cycle now, and this is going to affect the price regardless of where you think Bitcoin can go. I think it's going to do pretty well, but in the short term, we got to deal with trash like this, or problems like this, I should say. Here's what we have. 50% tariffs on steel are going to be applied to imported aluminum and would take effect on 4th of June. So coming up relatively quickly. What's the date today? Is it the 31st. So we got roughly 4 days to go. Now, this was actually reduced to 25%. Now we're back up to 50% for steel tariffs. And when we get a little bit of uncertainty in the markets don't like that, and there's going to be different problems. So it was not immediately clear how the announcement would affect the trade deal negotiated earlier this month, which saw tariffs on UK steel and aluminum reduced to 0. So now we have something with 50%, even though there was a deal struck with UK for 0. Interesting. Trump's Friday announcement came a day after a federal appeals court temporarily allows his tariffs to remain in effect, staying a decision by a U.S. trade court that blocked the president from imposing the duties. So at first, this court said, no, you can't do that. And there was a up the ladder, I would say, a federal appeals court, and says, yes, he can for now, and we'll stay that. And then, of course, this is going to keep going up until, who knows, we might be at the Supreme Court. Anybody's guess. The trade court ruling, however, does not impede the president's ability to unilaterally raise tariffs on steel, an authority granted under a national security provision called Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act. The precise relationship between this Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel, which is going on right now, because it looks like Nippon Steel in Japan looks to be either buying out U.S. Steel or a part of the U.S. Steel operation. And this is where things are getting a little bit murky. This raised questions on Friday, even for some of Trump's allies. The president has thrown his full support behind the deal months after insisting he was totally against a $14.9 billion bid by Nippon Steel for its U.S. rival. Again, this is not making any sense. Even pro-Trump commentators on Fox expressed bafflement over the exact nature of the deal. This is being described as a partnership deal between Nippon and U.S. Steel, but then it's described as an acquisition on the U.S. Steel website, which makes no sense. Why would we sell a U.S. company to a Japanese firm? Trump's predecessor, Joe Biden, had blocked Nippon's acquisition, citing national security concerns during his final weeks in office. So, I don't know if Joe Biden actually did that. I don't know if he was awake for that, but apparently that actually happened. So we'll see what happens. And again, not making too much sense, but that is where we are. And then also for a little bit of negative news before we get to some good stuff, because I can't give you good news all the time. I got to balance it out. You can't just thrive on hopium. And stuff will kill you. Chainlink had a malfunction today or yesterday, and 500,000 in DeFi liquidation happened. Now, some people say, well, who cares about $500,000 in liquidations? I will tell you, the people that got liquidated probably care, and this should not happen. But here's what we have, and there's always two sides to every story. So to reports, Chainlink's price oracle, which is what Chainlink does, it's an oracle. It pulls off-chain data into the chain. It is an oracle. For the USD stablecoin, inaccurately reported its value at $1.03. The incorrect data triggered liquidations for holding DUSD, which is denominated debt, on Avalanche's Euler Finance lending protocol. I've never heard of that. The impact was severe, especially for those leveraging the asset, which is backed by RWAs, or real-world assets, known for its high-yield potential. DUSD is issued by Elixir, has a total supply of 185 million, with 42.7 million circulating in Avalanche. Look, I got to tell you, as I'm reading this, $500,000, it doesn't seem like too much. And again, it is important to the people that lost it. But these types of things are going to continue to happen. I can guarantee it. It's going to be a rocky road. And just because we say, well, DeFi is the future, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a smooth future. It is going to be rocky. It's going to be bumpy. And for some of the investors, it's going to suck. But if you're able to stomach it, you're going to be rewarded later. It's just going to take time. Omar Goldberg, founder of Chaos Labs, took to X to criticize Chainlink. There's always a criticization, right? Claiming the oracle delayed an essential price update by 25 minutes. That seems like a big time, but it is. He suggests the price feed might rely too heavily on APIs like CoinGecko. He says using volume-weighted average price, or VWAP, and illiquid pools expose protocols to exploitation. The point of the oracle is to secure value and protect users. If the oracle is dumb and just spits out pool prices, why even use Chainlink and all? And this kind of hurts because I am a bag holder. Surprise. So when I hear about this, I'm like, that does suck. But two sides to every story. Chainlink's community liaison, Zach Rines, pushed back, clarified that Chainlink merely reflects aggregated market activity, and it's up to the individual protocols to interpret or filter the data. He states, or actually Mark Zeller of the Avi Chain Initiative also said that the fault lies in protocols treating volatile or liquid assets like mature collateral. He warned against labeling risks shortcuts in his innovation, saying it ultimately exposes users. Chainlink did their job. I will say this. Yes, it is up to the actual protocol that is being used to make sure everything is perfect and good to go. It'd be like somebody is a contractor coming in and saying, okay, well, we're going to build the walls today. How's the foundation? There's a little bit of cracks here and in there, Jerry, but I think you're going to be all right. Well, I'm not building that because you guys messed up the actual initial process. So I think it's up to the people that are there to make sure things are good. And if they're not, to fix them as much as they can. And in all honesty, as these things grow, I think it will be good to have some type of representative from each of these organizations to talk to the protocols that are using the base layer and saying, are you doing this? Are you doing that? Are you doing this? The same thing happened with Sui or Sui, as there was a hack on CETA or whatever it's called for the DeFi platform. I think if they worked together, these things wouldn't happen. And thankfully, Sui is actually stepping in to make the hack on Sui, or excuse me, the hack that owns on the decentralized platform, all the customers whole. And that's the only way to do things. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comments section. And then lastly, here's some good news. This is Nigel Farage. He's a British politician and broadcaster. And just take a listen to this. He's pretty much talking about how the Bank of England potentially could be buying Bitcoin. And these are the things that, like we talked about, Microsoft might not get it and Amazon might not get it. Hey, even Meta might not get it. But as time goes on, I think some of the big players will, especially as we start to have banks and the U.S. government pushing Bitcoin behind. So take a listen. This is about, I'm just going to play the first 30 seconds because the rest kind of gets boring.
I'm thrilled to be here today, but to announce that rather than just words, we have put together, and this is exclusive for today, the Crypto Assets and Digital Finance Bill.
Months of work, ladies and gentlemen.
We will campaign for this, and we'll put it in place when we win the next general election.
I got to tell you, it's a pretty good playbook. Worked pretty well for Trump to say, hey, look, you vote for us, we're going to make Bitcoin very strong. We're going to put it into the government. It could be a Bitcoin strategic reserve. So good for him to use that playbook. Hopefully it works out for him. And then as a reminder, before we get into the Q&A, Trump Media just raised $2.3 billion in buying power after closing capital raise. It's going to add Bitcoin to its balance sheet, an increasingly popular move among publicly traded firms. Wow, look at that. The United States president adding it to his company. I'm sure there's no conflicts of interest there. And that's it for today. So look, if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. We talk about it's time sensitive. Now we'll get into a little Q&A. I'll answer all your questions to the best of my abilities. And I think we did anything. We can talk about the Bitcoin conference that we had, or anything we just talked about, or any news that strikes your fancy, and we'll go from there. Anyhow, you got to take off. I appreciate you. Now let's get into a little Q&A. Paka, sad, Pakasad, I guess. Yep, I was born in England and not somewhere I'll be returning to anytime soon. You know, I feel bad for the people in the UK. I see the different, they're arresting people over social media posts. I don't understand why that is. It should be a free speech endeavor. I don't know what's happening over there, but it scares the hell out of me. I will not be moving to the UK. American cars, maybe. The rest are plastic. Could be true. Let's see. Crypto without a hack is like a sea without lubricants. Well, it could be. Very true. Actually, a day doesn't go by when we don't hear about a hack or a wrench attack or some type of scam. That's the industry that we're in. Pretty sad. Aristotle wish pack his dish is already finally shut. Let's see. We can discuss philosophy. It's amazing when you see Americans see some nonsense from Nigel Farage and think it might be real. Yeah, this is the thing. Like, I'm an American. I don't know who that guy was. I'll be honest with you guys. But I'm like, well, he's talking good about Bitcoin. But I mean, you know, he could just be some fringe politician or commentator, which doesn't move the needle whatsoever. So it just sounds like a good thing. I just want to throw something good in there because it was such a negative day. It's like, seems pretty good. Again, hopefully it works out. Don't be fooled. This was planned all along. Could be. And then Based comes in. Hey, man. Hey, Rob, you don't think the market is going to be okay with the tariffs now? The Federal Reserve did begin increasing its balance sheet mid-May, even though they haven't lowered rates. First time increasing since the last bull. Also, is Bobby happy with how well ETH is holding up in the pullback? Bobby's not in Ethereum. Bobby's in crazy meme coins and 3,000 market cap and below. He doesn't really care so much. Bobby, if you don't know, is a friend of mine who is a degenerate gambler and likes to buy up these ridiculous altcoins and sell them when they pull up. And it's a pretty good system. It's worked out for him so far. But as far as like the tariffs go, you know, didn't we just see there was a reduction in the PCE inflation rates? I think we're at 2.1%, which is the preferred metric that the Fed is taking a look at as far as like inflation. And I could have sworn last month people were saying when these tariffs come into effect, you're going to see a massive amount of inflation. And that's when it is. Even though last month we're like, it's looking pretty good. And this month's looking pretty good. I wonder what'll be next month. And I wonder what people will say. Okay, well, this month is still better or whatever it is. And, you know, maybe just another month. I don't know. But it seems like with tariff, and people were, it's just all over the place. People will say, well, not that money has been raised. It's been in the billions of dollars. I can say that's actually not too bad. Inflation is actually going down. It looks like there's people cooperating. Some people will say we shouldn't have tariffs whatsoever. I take a look at it and go, maybe it's a good tool. Let's see how it all plays out. If things collapse, well, it's a good thing I'm investing into Bitcoin. Good thing you are too. See how it works out. But as far as me, I think it's going to remain unstable until stuff's like this U.S. steel tariff going up to 50%. It's going to make things highly volatile. And you can look at it two ways, like I always look at it. And say, well, you know, this kind of sucks. I was kind of hoping that Bitcoin would go to 1 million by Sunday. That'd been awesome. But maybe it's not going to. Maybe it's going to be rocky. Maybe I can accumulate a little bit more. That's how I take a look at things. That's just me. What was the nicest swag you scored at the conference? I stole a t-shirt from Ben's party. It's called Bitcoin Dubious Speculation. Unfortunately, the shirt is too small for me. I don't know if I got a boy's medium or something, but I put it on and I'm like, what either I'm getting fat or this is the worst sizing I've ever seen in my life. Very nice shirt though. But that was probably the nicest one. Let's see. OTC supply, how long we got left? Donnie, I can tell you, I've been hearing a supply shock since I've been in crypto since 2017. And if that happens tomorrow, I will jump in that pool. I don't think a supply shock's coming anytime soon. Everybody talks about it, but the problem is that there's always going to be traders, leverage. There's going to be thin order books, and if there's money to be made or gambled on, it seems like traders will do that, especially when they have leverage of 10, 20, 30, 50x. So I don't see a supply happening anytime soon. Rob, do you think the Bitcoin bottom is in and won't go below 100K? Oh, I'm not saying that. That's just a tweet away from Donald Trump's account on Truth Social. So no, I'm not going to say that we can't see a sub 100K. I will tell you though, shout out to my friend George, who sold Bitcoin this last thing. He sold a big chunk of it. He sold it at 111K, and he told me the story. He's like, my wife are looking at Bitcoin. We've been holding it since 2017. I think he bought it for like $5,000 or something like that. Now he needs to spend Bitcoin, which I really would like to get into that debate about spending Bitcoin or selling Bitcoin. To me, I think it's the same thing. But he sold 111,296, I think it was, and he pretty much timed the top for this rule. Now, everybody in the comment section, there's always gonna be somebody that's like, "Well, that's a stupid thing because Bitcoin's going to 1 million." Maybe it is, but he had to use that for a specific purpose. I don't fault him for that whatsoever. Let's see. Dan, what's your thoughts on Bitcoin DeFi? I was kind of bummed out that I missed that. I think it was a Charles Hoskinson presentation where they took a look at how Cardano is going to be able to use or be like a second layer or a layer 2 solution on Bitcoin to open up DeFi. I mean, look, if you look at it as the world protocol, which could be Bitcoin as the settlement layer, there's nothing more secure than that. And there's nothing more decentralized than that. So if we could use something and build on top of Bitcoin, I am all for it, especially if it's Cardano. That'd be fantastic. Let's see. Study Bug says the OTC exchange doesn't even know what's left. That could be true. What's this? Hey, bot. I never go to England. I treat internet as we did in 95. Everything on internet is a joke and nothing is real. Actually a pretty good way to do it. Drones, good to see you. I'm hoping Lummis can pass the no tax on Bitcoin purchases less than $600. You know, Brent's right. And Cynthia Lummis, the senator from Wyoming, is 100% correct. Why can't we do this? Like the big thing that's stopping me from using Bitcoin in a daily sessions is I got to pay capital gains on that. Like I have it on my Tangem, and I can use different things. Like I'm just like, why can't I do this? Because the reason is because if I'm spending at that point, I am doing capital gains. So at the end of the year, I'm not going to sit around and tally up 10,000 transactions because I went to Walmart for steak. Well, actually, really cheap steak. And then I went to across the street and I got some Skechers. And then of course I bought a sleeping bag and I went all this and then, all across the board. I'm not doing that. I'm just not. If they can do that, fantastic. I think that would really push us in. And I will say one more thing. I saw this, I think we talked about this yesterday. I saw this, it was a fireside chat. It was between the Cardone brothers, Grant and Gary. And they were talking about how if you just give Bitcoin to your friends and family instead of beating them down and lecturing them about decentralization and money printing and how things are being devalued, they don't care about that. They don't. All they care about is number go up because that's why we're all here. Is it crazy to think that most of us, 99% of us are here, even me, because the number went up when we first bought it? If we could do that and give that to people in a very simple way and say, hey, go ahead, if you want to spend it, sure, you can spend it. But just show them like this is what's happening. And the number does go up. Why does it go up? Then you can get into the inflation type of argument and say, well, this is why. I don't know if you know this, but inflation is not from greedy corporations, despite what Elizabeth Warren talks about. Yes, it does a little bit, but mostly it's because of this thing called the Treasury, which prints a massive amount of dollars. And I'm going to show you this thing called an M2 money supply, and I'm going to overlay it with the S&P 500, and you're going to see that that's pretty much how the return on investment comes from. Because your dollar bill, the dollars that are being pumped out, is less purchasing power. You can get into all that stuff, but I think it was a pretty good comment. All right. I love all the positive crypto news and adoption, but I'm kind of tired of it. And I'm in the needle like 2021, so I'm going to have another beer. That's pretty good. Rob, it's Natty Ice, and it's about as good as this bull. Well, let's take a step back, DGen. Natty Ice is a fine beer. Some people say, no, it's an IPA. Natty Ice, I think it's like 2 cents for a 6-pack. You can't beat that. And maybe a next step up would be like, I don't know, Bud Ice or maybe Keystone Light. So, if you have to stack sats, well, you might as well just buy the cheapest beer out there. So nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it's true. We talk a lot about the news, and that's why it kind of annoys me sometimes when I see nothing but like positive. And I watch some videos and I'm like, nobody ever talks about the negative as much as they should. I think people just got to realize that it's going to take some time, and look at it 2 ways. Either that sucks, or I got more time to just accumulate. Trust me, in the bear market, I wish it would have lasted longer. Wouldn't it be great if we could still get Bitcoin at 20,000, knowing what we know now? Obviously. What do you think about AI coins in this cycle? Well, I have bags of them, so I can talk about those. I think with as fast as artificial intelligence is moving, first of all, 99% of the tokens that are out there don't even do anything with AI. They just say they do, and they're full of it. But there's some different projects that, and we talked about like Aether, right? There's only so many GPUs, NVIDIA, GPUs themselves that are out there. So you have to have that much of computational power, plus you have to have a massive amount of energy. And if you can figure out one of those two things to actually maximize or optimize those, then you're pretty good. Aether is one of those projects, and I hope it does quite well. Again, bag holder. So there's a video over at Dan DGen. Check that out. I think it'll do quite well. And there's a couple other ones, like people say, what about Akash? And what about this and that? Sure, can be great. What about Fetch AI? Sure. I don't have any Fetch AI though. Let's see. Brian Bravo, I'm from the government, here to help. Probably the worst sentence that anybody can ever say, but yes, I get it. I'm getting jacked, not fat. That's true. I'm getting actually very skinny. Bitcoin monthly chart gives me hope. Also true. RSI is not too bad, I don't think. All roads lead to jumping the pole. That's it. Rob did a while back, you compare DSave versus by the dip. I found that by the dip was financially better. I don't know. We should probably revisit that. I will say that actually probably true. If you guys watch, there's a video in the description, and I call it my crypto critical videos. And one is how to avoid scams. I think that's the most important one, and it's the least one that's watched because people are like, I don't care about that. I'm smart enough. I'm never going to get hacked. So that one's a good one. And then we talk about exit strategies. And there was one where I talked about dynamic DCAing, and that is by far the best accumulation strategy. And some people say, no, it's just lump sum it and you're good. Really, talk to the Ethereum holders about that a couple of years ago, or 2021, even 2022. See how long they're like, oh, it's fantastic, lump summing. I mean, it only works in certain situations. All right. Rob, did you have a lot of your viewers approach you at the conference? Yes, and it was fantastic. Got to meet a bunch of people. I got to meet a lot of people and their wives, usually. And the wives are like, oh, yeah, I hear you all the time. And I'm like, I have to apologize to the wives. I'm like, I'm sorry you have to listen to my voice every single day. And like, no, it's not, some people say, it's not every single day, but it's like 3-4 days a week. I'm like, I apologize. But most of the people were great. We had some drinks with, people that follow. I'll be posting some of those pics. And it was a good time. It was a great time. I'll probably go back. Again, I got family in Vegas, and I hope you guys show up. What I need to do, though, is what I should do is start accumulating some more Bitcoin conference tickets. So for next year, I can start giving away more. That would be a good idea. But yeah, it's good. But you do get kind of burnt out. It's not from the people. Like, I can talk to everybody all day long, but I was burnt out on just the bullishness and like, this is going to be the greatest thing of all time. And, nothing's going to stop us. which is true in the long run. It is. But some of the stuff I just found to be a little overbearing. That's just me and being old. I think one of the best things that I saw was Peter Schiff debating. God, that was funny. That was funny. It was like Peter Schiff was like the Iron Sheik, 1984, coming out, and then Donald Trump, Hulk Hogan comes out. It's a real American song, and everybody's cheering, and everybody's booing. That was great. Oh, George. Look, George is a very big. He's a Bitcoin bull. I mean, that's the guy you wanna listen to when things are down. That's for sure. I want to see Trump jump into Rob's pool wearing a dubious speculation shirt. That'll be interesting. I have big hopes for Bitcoin. I plan to live in blockchain as long as there is a pool and lawn. I'm interested in about this whole dichotomy, or this whole separation between it's okay to sell it's not okay to sell your Bitcoin, but it's okay to spend your Bitcoin. And it's not okay for loans against Bitcoin, but it is okay for loans. And the things that happened before, not going to happen again. Like in 2021, I was like, well, yeah, it makes sense. And now here I'm hearing the same things again. And it's one of those things that concerns me a lot. That's what it is. Let's see. Yeah, Bitcoin seed loans, where are they headed? They're going to be coming at a bank near you. That's what I think is going to happen. You're going to see a bunch of loans, and you're going to see some legit companies, and you're going to see a bunch of fly-by-night ones, and it's going to be rocky. I think there's a place for it, but I can't do it. Like I said before, I can't take a loan. Bitcoin did flip support to resistance, which does suck. It can change quick, though. All right, Bailey. Bailey's smarter at that than me, for sure. No need of Bitcoin DeFi. We already have wrapped Bitcoin to DeFi. It's also true. Hey, Jem's here. The UK exports approximately 180,000, 200,000 tons of steel to the United States annually, valued around 400 million, roughly 500 million according to Perplexity. So the UK exports 400 million. Well, hopefully that 0% tariff stays in place. I don't know if that 50% is for every single country out there, if it's just for specific ones. Again, it seems like you got to try to keep up with Taco Trump. Let's see where that goes. Have you guys heard this phrase, Taco Trump? It's what is it? It's totally accepts. I forgot who. Taco. I was just talking about this today. Taco Trump, which sounds funny. Oh, here we go. Oh, Trump always chickens out. That's what it is. Taco. Trump always chickens out. And it is interesting. I mean, that came out I think 4 or 5 days ago. And a couple days later, he was like, okay, China China just did the worst thing of all time, a disaster. And we're going to have to pull back all the concessions. And I hate China. And all of a sudden, yeah, back at it. I give a choice to my employees for Christmas bonus, fiat or 2x. And wow, that's pretty good. Oh, we're taking the Bitcoin for sure. How's that's a good question. How many of your employees took Bitcoin? How many just took fiat? Be interesting to see. Let's see. I talk about the negative all the time and have no friends. You should hang out with my friend Alex. We call him Megatron. Pretty much the same way, but I love him. And keeps me grounded. You're still early. Rob is an alter degen named Bobby. I don't know who you're talking about, degen. Will we really have a bear market now? If governments and business pensions are in it, maybe we'll just become steady like S&P. See, extortion, that's what I say. It's going to essentially flatten out, and it's going to be about as boring as gold. And people are like, you want to get into Bitcoin at X amount at these 6-figure prices. And some people will and some people won't. And I think because it's so volatile, this is the only time to really, not the only time, but I think it's a great time if you want to, invest into a return on investment, which is going to massively outperform all other assets. But at some point it will. That's how I see it. Unless, Peter Zeihan was right. Maybe it does go to negative 1,000 or whatever you're talking about. Let's see. Great answer. Yeah. Friends who, that's Andre, if you say one more thing about whatever that token is, I will ban you from this channel because it sounds like a scam. Sol and Python, pump at the end. Good afternoon, Rob. Hope the weather's great there in Puerto Rico. No. Right now I'm in Texas. Just dealing with some things over here. Nice, beautiful Saturday. Yeah. Hound TV says, Rob, when a company like Trump's announced they're buying $1 billion in Bitcoin, where do they buy it from? There's not that much to sell. So this is where it comes for the OTC, right? Correct me where I'm wrong here. I'm not a big institutional investor, but the over-the-counter trades are essentially reserved for massive institutions. But the bigger question you have to ask yourself is, who is going to custody that Bitcoin? Who is it going to be? If Liberty Fund, Trump Liberty Foundation, whatever they buy in Bitcoin is going to be just the same one as like MicroStrategy and say BlackRock, which would be Coinbase, or they're going to have their own? I think that's a bigger question. But usually it's all just OTC stuff. And again, people will say, well, if he's buying billions of dollars, but that's just it. I don't think they're going to buy 2.38 billion right at once. I think MicroStrategy had a pretty good plan. They'll probably talk to them too. And they'll pretty much ask, give them the blueprint, which is don't buy everything at once, buy it slowly over time. That way you won't raise the price too much, which is what we all want. But it's good for you as you accumulate, because if you buy everything at once, not a great look. Although MicroStrategy has bought a lot and one fell swoop. Let's see. One day I'll have the pleasure of meeting you. Then I'll enjoy the lives. Yeah, good enough. It's good enough. Yeah. Damn it, Aristotle, you were there. Jack's talk threw me a little in the conference. We talked about this yesterday. And Jack Mallers, and that's what we're talking about, I think. He came out with Strike, and they're going to be offering Bitcoin loans. The big problem with the other Bitcoin loans was that it was a Ponzi scheme, even though they could make a bunch of money just on the interest. And what Jack was saying was like, look, we're going to offer these loans, and it won't be, loans are not capital gains taxed in America. I don't know where you're at personally. And we won't rehypothecate. We won't mix funds. And we will have a clear reserve by a Merkle tree, essentially letting you know where all the Bitcoin is. Sounds reasonable, but again, I thought other things were reasonable and they collapsed too. So I have to do a lot more research before I say, yeah, that sounds good. But even this cycle, I can't take that risk. Let's see. Everybody. Trump sells his name just because it says Trump does not mean it's his company, or does he have much to do with it? And his last name being part of it gets no more from it. Yeah. Sure. Let's see. Trump always chickens out. Trump always chickens out. That's right. Thank you, everybody. Irrational. I'm waiting for a safe way to get loans against Bitcoin. Me too. Trump and Trump. And I think where in Texas? I'm in Austin, El Paso. Yeah, exactly. BlackRock has about $1 billion worth. Exactly true. And I'll leave with this. Unless I'm wrong, it seems that Ben's talk wasn't included in the Bitcoin magazine coverage, which is a shame. How was it received? I missed it because I was indisposed. And from all the people that were there and they told me about it, it was pretty funny because like the moderator was talking about, so Mr. Cohen, so where do you think Bitcoin's going to go? And as far as like on-chain analysis that you use, and with all the things that are going on with macro and the different negativity in the markets. And of course, we have the other person from, I think it was Fidelity, and they say something different. And do you think that altcoins and blah, 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 blah. And Ben at the end just goes, are you asking me if about Bitcoin dominance? Sure, I'll talk about it. And everybody started to laugh. That was like pretty much what I heard. Everybody, it was really, really well received, and everybody was clapping. So it was good. It was a good time. I'm sorry I missed it, but I heard the stories afterwards, even from Ben. So that's it for today, everybody. So look, like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe, all that great stuff. I will see you tomorrow on Sunday. try to get Jerry in here to get a fresh perspective of what's going on in the markets. But that's it for this one. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. See you on the next one. Adios.